Hello everyone, my name is Will Cully from Cornell University, and in this video I will go through the pre-analysis for flow over an airfoil in ANSYS Fluent. In this problem, we will be looking at an airfoil experiencing an incoming flow with a given angle of attack, and looking at the resulting pressures and velocities. We will also characterize the lift and drag of the airfoil using non-dimensional coefficients. We will be investigating the symmetric NACA 0012 airfoil for the simulation. We will use a chord length of 1 meter. This is the length from the leading edge to the trailing edge. The free stream velocity will be 1 meter per second, and the angle of attack, alpha, will be 6 degrees. This is the angle between the chord line and the free stream velocity vector. Finally, we will use an atmospheric pressure of 1 atmosphere and assume the density of the air is 1 kilogram per meter cubed. Importantly, the coordinate system of our simulation will be aligned with the airfoil as shown in this schematic. This means that our incoming flow velocity will not be aligned with one of our coordinate axes and will therefore be represented in terms of 2 components. The flow around the airfoil will create an aerodynamic force that can be decomposed into lift and drag. Drag is defined as being parallel to the incoming free stream velocity, where lift is perpendicular to it. This means that these forces will also not be aligned with our simulation coordinate axes. We will interpret the solution process using this black box framework. We will start with our physical problem, which is the flow over an airfoil. From this, we can use physical principles and assumptions to create a mathematical model inside the Fluent black box. It figures out this model from our user inputs. Let's take a look at the mathematical model. This consists of governing equations and boundary conditions. For governing equations, we first have the continuity equation, which is conservation of mass applied to an infinitesimal fluid element. We use the 2D version for our geometry. We then have conservation of momentum equations, which arise from applying F equals ma to an infinitesimal fluid element. This produces 2 equations, one in the x direction and one in the y direction. This provides 3 partial differential equations in terms of 3 unknown functions. Those are x and y velocities at each location, u and v, and the pressure, p. These are the quantities we will solve for in our model. This comes with a bunch of assumptions, which are already embedded in these equations, with the exception of the inviscid assumption. This means that our viscosity, mu, is 0, and the last term in both of the momentum equations drops out. These are then our governing equations that Fluent will solve over the flow domain. In addition to the governing equations, our mathematical model includes boundary conditions. The domain of our boundary value problem is the fluid region surrounding the airfoil. We want to create a surface that includes areas far from the airfoil to capture the full flow and ensure that it is not dominated by flow near the center. We will use this general shape to achieve that. The boundary highlighted in red will be our inlet. We will specify u and v velocity components at these regions. Using the free stream velocity and the angle of attack, we can find these components using trigonometry to produce the desired flow direction. The green line at the back of the domain will be the outlet. Here, we will specify the pressure to be the free stream value of 1 atmosphere. Finally, we want to add a boundary condition to the edge of the airfoil. While we would typically enforce a no-slip and no-penetration boundary conditions at this wall, the no-slip condition cannot be enforced for inviscid flow. We will therefore only enforce the no-penetration boundary condition. This means that the velocity of the fluid normal to the airfoil must be 0. This completes our overview of the mathematical model. So we can now take a look at a brief overview of the numerical solution strategy that will be used to obtain values of our unknown functions in the domain. To begin this process, we need to divide the domain up into multiple control volumes or cells. This image shows a photo of a sample mesh around the airfoil, with each of these boxes being a unique control volume. From this, we will determine values of the unknown functions u, v, and p at the center of each of these cells. This value will be an approximation of the average value of the cell. For other regions not in the center, we can approximate its value by interpolating between cell center values. That means anywhere in the cell, even on the boundaries, the values can be interpolated from the value at the center and other neighboring values. To get these values, the Fluent solver will derive algebraic equations relating u, v, and p at each cell center to the neighboring values. This will create a system of equations. The solver will then invert the system to obtain the cell center values. Importantly, the solver only directly determines the values of our unknown functions. All other quantities and visualizations are post-processed from these values. To develop and solve these equations, Fluent uses the finite volume method. It starts with the mathematical model, which we know is the differential form of our governing equations and associated boundary conditions. It needs to develop algebraic equations relating cell center values of the primary unknowns. To do this, it first goes to the integral form of the governing equations and applies it to each control volume. The process of developing these algebraic equations introduces a discretization error, caused by only finding the values at cell centers. We can reduce this error by refining the mesh. These algebraic equations are nonlinear, so to solve them, Fluent must linearize them about guess values so that they can be solved. Doing this introduces a linearization error. This process is performed iteratively by continuously updating the guess values. We repeat this until the imbalance falls below a selected tolerance. For more information about this process, check out the eCornell certificate for computational fluid dynamics. Back in our black box framework, we have discussed the mathematical model and the numerical solution method, and how that produces the selected values at selected points. Now, I want to show some hand calculations and experimental data that can be used to gain intuition on the expected results and verify the solution. We can start by looking at some expected qualitative trends in the flow. Here's a schematic of our airfoil, and we know that we have our free stream velocity approaching at a positive angle of attack. Because of this, we know that this will produce a high pressure region below the airfoil and a low pressure region above it. More specifically, we know that aligned with our free stream velocity, we will get a stagnation region of very low velocities on the bottom near the front of the airfoil. From this region, the air will travel around the surface and speed up in the process. This exchange will create a very high velocity, low pressure region towards the front of the airfoil as well. At the back of the airfoil, we expect the flow to follow its sharp trailing edge because of the kata condition. Furthermore, we can perform hand calculations to estimate the lift and drag coefficients. We can calculate an expected lift coefficient using thin airfoil theory. While this theory assumes the airfoil has zero thickness and is infinitely long, it can be used as a first approximation to help validate our results. The lift coefficient is the lift force non-dimensionalized by the density, velocity, and planform area of the wing. Thin airfoil theory says that this equation is equal to 2 pi times the angle of attack minus the zero lift angle of attack. For a symmetric airfoil like NACA 0012, alpha 0 is 0 degrees. Using our 6-degree angle of attack in radians gives us 0.658 for our lift coefficient. Similarly, the drag coefficient can be predicted using our given assumptions. The drag coefficient is similarly a non-dimensionalized drag force. We can expect this to be equal to 0 because our flow is inviscid. While our simulation will give us a non-zero value, we expect it to be very close to 0 and further approach it with mesh refinement. Finally, we can use experimental data to validate our results. To get these values, I used the 2D NACA 0012 airfoil validation case from NASA. You can find this report easily with a Google search, but it will also be in the description of this video. This report collects experimental data from several lift and drag experiments and provides some data for comparison. For an angle of attack of 6 degrees, we can expect a lift coefficient of around 0.645 and a drag coefficient of around 0.008. This experimental data includes some factors that are omitted from our simple model, but it serves as a useful comparison. This completes the pre-analysis content, and we will now get into the simulation.